Today we'll be covering what happens after basic training, regardless if you are in the reserves, active duty, or National Guard components. How's it going, everybody? My name is Sean Millette. I am an Army Sergeant, so I can tell you firsthand what that is like with my experience. I am currently in the National Guard and have been for about 6 years, but I also know what happens with reserves and active duty, just because you begin to learn things as you've spent lots of time in the Army. Now, if you are currently in a different branch of the military or planning on joining a different branch, this video is still for you because active duty across the board is pretty much the same. The same things will happen to you after basic training. And even if you're in the Air Force, if you are in the Air Force National Guard, that's pretty much going to be the same thing as the Army National Guard. And right before we get into the actual topic, I want everybody to comment down below what you think the easiest basic training is across the entire military. Do you think that it's Air Force, Army? You could even go Space Force. That is a newer branch. What else did I say? I didn't say the Marines, and anything else that I'm missing in between there. But let me know what you think the easiest basic training is across the board. So what actually happens after basic training? Well, the short and obvious answer that I'm not really going to go into too much is advanced individual training is technically the next thing that happens after basic training, which is your job training. That's what we call it in the Army. I'm not sure about other branches, but you go to that training, you learn how to do your job, and let's say you finish job training. So when you're in the National Guard, I'm just going to go off of my experience first because that's the easiest one to talk about, the one that I am most knowledgeable since I've gone through it myself. When you're in the National Guard, pretty much you're serving the state that you signed up to serve. Usually it's the state for most people that they currently reside in prior to joining the military. However, this can change because sometimes based upon the benefits for tuition, some people will even join states that are right next that border their own, just because it makes more sense for them to do that. But anyways, your respective state that you are serving for the National Guard that you chose to serve for, you're going to basically come back home or wherever, and you're going to be drilling 1 weekend a month with the unit you get assigned to. Usually it's a pretty seamless process. They have it down for the most part about getting new soldiers kind of switched over, getting in contact with people from their unit, their readiness NCO and things like that, and get them the newsletter. And then really the biggest challenge is getting new soldiers right out of training to their first drill. And then once they get to their first drill, it's a lot easier because you start to kind of see how things work. That person can get everyone's phone numbers of their leadership and really see where they kind of fall in place in the unit. And then from there, it's smooth sailing for the most part. So like me, the day that I got done with advanced individual training, I took a flight home. This was paid for by the military. It's all part of their expenses. Took a flight home, and then I pretty much had right about a month where I just didn't have anything to do. But that's kind of how it is in the National Guard. You only have drill 1 weekend a month. So I had almost an entire month, but throughout that month I had some moving pieces, and by the following month I was drilling with my unit and no looking back ever since. So it's really not too bad. It's pretty laid back and pretty easy to just kind of go with the flow, and everybody does their job hopefully, and things are easy. We'll talk about the reserves just because, you know, there might be some confusion, and because that's the next easiest thing to talk about. The reserves is a lot like the National Guard. It's, from my knowledge, it is like 1 week in a month, just like the National Guard, except they're not the National Guard. You are most likely still going to be serving in the state that you are a reservist for. However, like, your mission is not state first. The National Guard, their mission is state is the top priority, is to serve their state. If there's some sort of like weather emergency, like flooding, I don't even know, I can't even think, an earthquake, that type of thing, riots, riot control, all those sort of things, that the National Guard takes care of that in their own state, with the help of law enforcement sometimes and EMS services. But the reservists, they don't really take part in that. That's not really their deal. So for a reservist, it would pretty much be the same exact thing. They'd take a flight home and they would be with their unit one weekend every single month, and then 2 weeks throughout the summer, just like the National Guard. So pretty much it should be the exact same. The way that it looks when you get done with basic training, how you adjust, where you end up, that sort of thing. All right, so let's talk about active duty, because obviously that is a lot different. The main difference is active duty, that is their full-time job. That is what they're going to be doing Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 basically. Whereas the reserves and the National Guard, the money that they make and the hours they put in is very minimal. You get maybe like $200 to $300 for doing one weekend of drill, or whatever it is called for the reserves, probably something similar. And it's very part-time. You put in 2 to 3 days. You can't really live off of that income unless you're a complete minimalist, and even then I don't think most of anyone could even do that. So yeah, the active duty side, from my understanding, it would be basically as soon as you finish your basic training, your advanced individual training, you would go straight to your first duty station. You're like basically your assigned unit or company, and what is expected of you is you are filling a role to do the job that you went to go do in the Army. Now, it's not always going to look the exact same. There's going to be things expected of you that maybe you didn't learn at job training, or you're just not the most familiar with, and you're also not going to be doing every single thing that you learned at job training. You're only going to be taking bits and pieces of it and applying that to how your unit or company needs you to do that. So something that I kind of learned along the way, like I am a combat engineer, and when you go to a unit in any component of this, not everyone's going to be doing the same job as you. So that's why I say you have a role to fill. I am in an engineer unit, so mostly everybody is an engineer. However, there's a couple different spots in the unit that have to be filled pretty much at all times that have nothing, that are like as far away from combat engineer stuff as you can even think of. So yeah, active duty, as soon as they get done with their basic training and job training, they will go to their first duty station. I don't think there's a time in between where they get to go home, have some sort of vacation, see everybody before they head off, but maybe they do. Don't quote me on anything here. And yeah, like I said, go to your first duty station. I'm pretty sure you just get the ball rolling right away. As soon as you get to that first duty station, this can be in the US, I think it's Alaska and Hawaii, I think are the two. And then outside of that, it's like Germany, Italy, I think even South Korea. It just really depends where they need you. And I did see while I was at basic training that it looks like active duty service members kind of get a ranking of like their top 3 or top 5 duty stations. So I think they kind of try their best to put you somewhere where you want to go. However, they can't make any guarantees because it's all about where slots are needed to be filled. And yeah, I would imagine it wouldn't take very long for active duty service members, once they get to their first duty station, to get the ball rolling, and before they know it, I mean, it's automatically, it's going to be their 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. But they would get the hang of it a lot more quickly, of that active duty lifestyle, as compared to National Guard and reservists, because sometimes things get a little slower moving just because you're only there one weekend out of the month, and you don't really see the bigger picture as quickly as active duty would. So yeah, everybody, that is basically what happens after basic training for the National Guard, the Army Reserves, and active duty. So yeah, I kind of wanted to just throw something real general out there. I didn't go too in depth because people might have different experiences about, you know, one person's unit might go about it a little differently than another person's unit, and that's okay. But all I'm saying is just kind of a general thing for Army, National Guard, Reserves, and active duty, just throwing it out there. So that way, if you have just joined the Army or any other branch of the military, or you're thinking about joining the military, you kind of know where you might kind of end up, or how that path might look for you. And hopefully by watching this video, I gave anyone a little more insight, answered some questions. That's pretty much my main goal, is to clear up any sort of confusion that anyone might have that is in the military or thinking about joining the military, just to make things a little easier for you. So yeah guys, that is all I have for you in today's video. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Sean Millett, and peace out. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to the channel right here. And if you'd like to watch one video of mine, you can click right about here. And if you'd like to watch a different video of mine, click right about here.